श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवं श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादाश्रीनिशास्नानि हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी स्वामी देवी प्रणमामि वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवासादि गौर हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणी निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशधारिणी नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम्.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Manoram Prabhu, before I begin, did that Srimad Bhagavatam said to reach your address in Agartala, your parents' place?
Not so far, actually.
It should reach because, I sent the same day to Pranab Prabhu also and to your parents. Pranab Prabhu has received it almost 2 days back.
Okay, I will again inquire today, Prabhuji. Till yesterday it did not.
Okay. So I will check. So we are studying from the 7th chapter, the schedule of incarnations with respect to various functions. And after speaking of so many other incarnations, Sāci-Sutā Goswami has now come to glorify the appearance of the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. And just he began to express, so in the previous verse, that is talking about Krishna's beautiful Rajalila, that how Krishna released them from the poisonous effect of Kaliya. Now going further, 29th verse. Tat karma devyam ivayan nishi nihasayanam dhavagnina suchivane paridayamane unneshyati vrajamato avasati antakalam netre pidha prasavalo anande gamya viryaha. On the very night of the day of the chastisement of Kaliya snake, when the inhabitants of Brajbhumi were sleeping carefully. Why? Because they had been relieved from the poisonous effect of Kaliya. There was a forest fire ablaze due to dry leaves. And it appeared that all the inhabitants were sure to meet their death. But the Lord, along with Balram, saved them simply by closing his eyes. Such are the superhuman activities of the Lord. Although in the verse, the Lord's activity has been described as superhuman. Divyam. Tat karma divyam. Also Bhagavad Gita Krishna says, Janma karma chame divyam. Divyam means transcendental, it also means superhuman, beyond the capacity of human being. But the Lord, along with Balram, saved them simply by closing his eyes. Such are the superhuman activities of the Lord. Although in this verse, the Lord's activity has been described as superhuman, Divya, it should be noted that the Lord's activities are always superhuman, and that distinguishes him from the ordinary living being. Uprooting a gigantic banyan or Arjun tree and extinguishing a blazing forest fire simply by closing one's eyes are certainly impossible by any kind of human endeavor. But not only are these activities amazing to hear, but in fact, all other activities of the Lord, whatever He may do, are all superhuman. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 4.9. Jan karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tatvata tattva deham punarjana meti mameti sarvina. Whoever knows the superhuman activities of the Lord, Divyam, due to their very transcendental nature, becomes eligible to enter the kingdom of Krishna. And as such, after putting his present material body, the knower and the transcendental activities of the Supreme Lord goes back home, back to Godhead. Grahanita yad yad upabandha mamusya mata sulvan sutasya natu tat amusya mati yajra yajraham bato asya vande bhunani gopi samvikshya sankita mana pradibhodhisai. When the cowherd woman, Krishna's foster mother Yashoda, was trying to tie the hands of her sons with ropes, she found the rope to be always insufficient in length. And when she finally gave up, Lord Krishna by and by opened his mouth, wherein the mother found all the universes situated. Saying this, she was doubtful in her mind, but she was convinced in a different manner of the mystic nature of her son. One day, Lord Krishna, as a naughty child, disturbed his mother Yashoda, and she began to tie up the child with ropes just to punish him. But no matter how much rope she used, she found it always insufficient. Thus she became fatigued. But in the meantime, the Lord opened his mouth, and the affectionate mother saw within the mouth of her son all the universes situated together. The mother was astonished, but out of her deep affection for Krishna, she thought that Almighty God Narayan had kindly looked after her son just to protect him from all the continuous calamities happening to him. Because of her deep affection for Krishna, she could never think that her very son was Narayan, the personality of Godhead himself. That is the action of Yoga Maya, the internal potency of the Supreme Lord, which acts to perfect all the pastimes of the Lord with his different types of devotees, who could play such wonders without being God. Nandam cha mokshati bhayad varunasya pasha Gopan vileshu pihitam maya sunanna cha ahanya pritam nishishayanam adishramena lokan vakuntham upanayati gokulam sma. Lord Krishna saved his foster father, Nand Maharaj, from the fear of the demigod Varun and released the cowherd boys from the caves of the mountains, for they were placed there by the son of Maya. Also to the inhabitants of Vrindavan who were busy working during the daytime and sleeping soundly at night because of their hard labor in the day. Lord Krishna awarded them to the highest man, to the highest planet in the spiritual sky. All these acts are transcendental and certainly prove that without a doubt was Godhead. So various sweet pastimes of the Lord is being mentioned, specifically here how Nanda Maharaj was caught by the demigod Varun when he entered the waters of Yamuna to take bath very early in the morning. Nand Maharaj, the foster father of Lord Krishna, went to take bath in the river Yamuna in the dead of night, mistakenly thinking that the night was already over. Thus the demigod Varun took him to his Varun planet just to have look at the personality of Godhead Lord Krishna, who appeared there to release his father. There is a similar incident of Lord Krishna along with Lord Narayan. Anyone knows which incident is that? It is there in the Krishna book. Similar incident. Anyone remembers? Ramya, you have read Krishna book? Unmute and speak. Which pastime is this? You heard this pastime, na? Why Varun took Nand Maharaj? What was the purpose? Yes, Ravindra Prabhu and Priyanka.
Prabhuji, Akrura,
Akrura. What is Akrura to do with this?
while he is bathing, he sees Lord Krishna and
I am
Balaram.
talking about Lord Vishnu. We did not hear what is mentioned in this pastime of Varun Dev kidnapping Nand Maharaj. What was the purpose? Prabhupada is revealing. I'll again read. Hear attentively. The demigod Varun took him to the Varun planet just to have a look at the personality of Godhead Lord Krishna, who appeared there to release his father. This was the purpose. So I'm talking about a similar pastime. I know Ramya knows. But what about others? नहीं पढ़ा कृष्णा बुक? इतने साल हो गए. प्रभुपाद जी लिखते हैं that simply by reading this one book, Krishna, one will fructify his love for the Supreme Lord. And still we don't want to read. Why? Because we don't want the love of the Supreme Lord. What we want? We want love of Maya Devi. That is more dear to us. Bolo, Manoram, what pastime is this? कभी पढ़ाई नहीं कृष्णा में? हाँ, टाइम नहीं है इस लाइफ टाइम में, टाइम नहीं मिलेगा. बहुत बड़े नोबेल प्राइज साइंटिस्ट हैं, इसका सब रिकॉर्ड तोड़ेंगे ये. बहुत बिजी हैं, टाइम नहीं है इनके पास, जरूरत भी नहीं है. There is no need. दही कौन सा फर्स्ट टाइम? नहीं पढ़े हैं तो नहीं पता चलेगा। पुरुषोत्तम,
नहीं पढ़ा है प्रभु।
नहीं पढ़ा है तो हफ्ते में कम से कम एक चैप्टर एक हफ्ते में आप तीनों बैठ के पढ़ा करिए। समझ गए? इतने कोई विधि विधि नहीं है, खाली किसमें है, अज्ञान और अहंकार में बढ़े हुए हैं, और कुछ नहीं आ रहा। अभी तक कुछ नहीं कर रहे। क्या कर रहे हो भैया? क्या कर रहे हो जीवन में? क्या कौन सा पहाड़ तोड़ रहे हो? और कौन बताया? प्रदीप, यू नो? यू पीपल हैव नॉट इवन रेड कृष्णा को। बोलिए रम्या।
कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
हाँ,
प्रभु जी, इन द्वारका एक्चुअली महाविष्णु एक ब्राह्मण के जितने भी बेटे होते हैं महाविष्णु लेके चले जाते थे। तो
हाँ, विष्णु
अर्जुन।
death death was coming, and
ओके।
there was a brahmana in Dwarika. Whenever his son was born, he would die immediately. Then
और फिर वो ब्राह्मण कंप्लेन करने आए कि आपके होते हुए मेरे बच्चे कैसे ऐसे डेथ के उनका डेथ कैसे हो जा रहा है। तो फिर अर्जुन बोल दिया, अगर मैं आपके सारे बच्चों को लेके नहीं आऊंगा तो मैं अपनी लाइफ को एंड कर दूंगा। फिर भगवान उनको लेके फिर भगवान के साथ वो महाविष्णु के एबोर्ड में गए और वहां से अपने सारे ब्राह्मण के सारे बच्चों को लेके आए। तो महाविष्णु का ही पर्पस था टू सी सुप्रीम लॉर्ड कृष्णा।
they
इसलिए
wanted to see
उन्होंने।
Krishna and Arjuna together. Lord Mahavishnu wanted to have audience of Lord Krishna and Arjuna together. So he had no other. First they went to Lord Yamraj's abode. And how could Ramraj dare to take away the child of a Brahmana? So Yamraj said, it is not me, it is Mahavishnu. You have come to the wrong address. Please contact Mahavishnu. And why Mahavishnu was taking away the kids, killing them? Because he wanted to call Krishna and Arjuna together to his planet to have his audience. पढ़िए, there are so many wonderful stories. और ऐसा नहीं है कि आपको सब आता है, मैक्सिमम कुछ नहीं आता, कुछ आता ही नहीं, यही फैक्ट है। तो सेम वे विद वरुण देव, he had confiscated Nanda Maharaj just to have a look at the personality of Godhead Lord Krishna, who appeared there to release his father. Actually, there was no arrest of Nanda Maharaj by Varun, because the inhabitants of Vrindavan were always engaged in thinking of Krishna, in constant meditation of the personality of Godhead, in a particular form of samadhi or trance called bhakti yoga. They had no fear of the miseries of material existence. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is confirmed that to be in the association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead by full surrender in transcendental love frees one from the miseries inflicted by the laws of material nature. What is the verse? Let me see how much understanding you have. What is this verse? Prabhupada is quoting Bhagavad Gita. In association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by full surrender in transcendental love, frees one from the miseries inflicted by the laws of material nature. Here it is clearly mentioned. Okay, which verse is this from Bhagavad Gita? चलिए, कृष्णा बुक नहीं पढ़ा, भगवद गीता तो पढ़ रहे हैं, बताइए कौन सा श्लोक है? बोलो। Sequence remains the same. Manoram, which verse is this? My dear, We already started late. Yeah. And we are just on the second verse. So please answer. Please reply. अरे कृष्णा बुक नहीं पढ़ा, गीता भी नहीं पढ़ा क्या? सुन रही है वो? कुछ नहीं आता, पूछो पापा से, ये किधर कौन सा श्लोक है भगवत गीता का? बोलिए पुरुषोत्तम प्रभु, कौन सा वर्ष है? प्रभुपाद ने उसको बहुत एम्फेटिक वे में प्रेजेंट किया है। वर्ष वही है, बेसिक वर्ष है। इतना बड़ा हिंट दे दिया मैंने आपको। बोलो भाई, इतना टाइम क्यों लग रहा है? नई क्लैरिटी है भगवत गीता के मैसेज में। प्रदीप,
प्रभु जी सर्वधर्मानि परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज।
नो,
तमेव शरणं गच्छ प्रभु 18 point।
अरे shut up. All wild guesses. You have not understood the prospect in which Prabhupada is quoting the verse. Ravinder and Priyanka. Very basic, very basic verse. अब बोलो Rayanshi, which verse is this?
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी। सॉरी,
Don't answer before I ask. Okay. Pranav, which verse is this?
प्रभु जी, is it दैवीयशा गुणमयी मम मया दुरतया मम भज प्रपद्यन्ते
Yes.
मयमेतं तरन्ति।
Yes. Yes. This is the verse. This is the basic verse. Mam evaya prapadyante maya metam tarantite. So what is prapadyante? Is to perform loving service, nothing else. This is what Prabhupada is saying, that to be in association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead by full surrender, in transcendental love, frees one from the miseries inflicted by the laws of material nature. Devi Yesha Gunmai Mam Maya Duratya. Miseries inflicted by the material nature. Mamevaya Prapadyante, full surrender in transcendental love. Maya Metam Tarantite. One frees from material miseries inflicted by the laws of material nature. Here it is clearly mentioned that the inhabitant of Vrindavan. So please see, please put more effort, please put your more heart. Basic understanding of Bhagavad Gita is also very limited. आती नहीं है, कुछ भी सोचते रहे या समझते रहे, क्योंकि बार बार ठीक से पढ़ते नहीं है, अध्ययन नहीं करते। अगर जब तक सेल्फ स्टडी डीपली नहीं करेंगे, इतना बोलने के बाद भी, इतना बताने के बाद भी कनेक्ट नहीं कर पाएंगे, होगा नहीं। Must study every day, at least spend 15 to 20 minutes, if not more. Best is to spend at least half an hour. अपनी सेल्फ स्टडी डीपली जरूर करिए। इतना पढ़ा रहे हैं, इतना बता रहे हैं, इतना प्रयास कर रहे हैं आपको पकड़ाने के लिए, लेकिन आप पकड़ ही नहीं रहे, बार बार छोड़ देना, हाथ झटक देते हैं, नहीं नहीं छोड़ो छोड़ो छोड़ो, नहीं चाहिए। नॉट गुड। Here it is clearly mentioned that the inhabitants of Vrindavan were extensively busy in the hard labor of their day's work. And due to the day's hard labor, they were engaged in sound sleep at night. So practically they had very little time to devote to meditation or to any other paraphernalia of spiritual activity. But factually they were engaged in the highest spiritual activities only. Everything done by them was spiritualized because everything was dovetailed in the relationship with Lord Krishna, with Lord Shri Krishna. The central point of their activities was Krishna. And as such, their so-called activities in the material world were saturated with spiritual potency. That is the advantage of the way of Bhakti Yoga. One should discharge one's duty on Lord Krishna's behalf, and all of one's action will be saturated with Krishna's thought, the highest pattern of trance and spiritual realization. Sarvakarvani api sada urvanu matvapaśraya matprasada avapnoti shashvatam padam avyayam. 18.56 Krishna speaks. Next verse. Goper makhe pratihate braj viplavaya Deva vivarshati pashun kripaya rirakshuhu. Krita uchchilandram iva sapta dinani sapta varsho mahidram anaghika kare salilam. When the cowherd men of Vrindavan, under instructions of Krishna, stopped offering sacrifices to the heavenly king Indra, the whole tract of land known as Braja was threatened with being washed away by constant heavy rains with 7 days. Lord Krishna, out of his causeless mercy upon the inhabitants of Braja, held up the hill known as Govardhan with one hand only. Although he was only 7 years old, he did this to protect the animals from the onslaught of water. Children play with an umbrella, generally known as frog's umbrella. And Lord Krishna, when he was only 7 years old, would snatch the great hill known as Govardhan Parvat at Vrindavan and hold it for 7 days continuously with one hand, just to protect the animals and the inhabitants of Vrindavan from the wrath of Indra, the heavenly king, who had been denied sacrificial offerings by the inhabitants of Rajabhumi. Factually, there is no need of offering sacrifices to the demigods for their services if one is engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord. What is the principle here? Which verse? Factually, there is no need of offering sacrifices to the demigods for their services if one is engaged in this service of the Supreme Lord. Okay. 7th chapter, 9th chapter, Krishna speaks so many verses. Sacrifices recommended in the Vedic literature for satisfaction of the demigods are a sort of inducement to the sacrificers to realize the existence of higher authorities. The demigods are engaged by the Lord as controlling deities of material affairs. And according to the Bhagavad Gita, when a demigod is worshipped, the process is accepted as an indirect method for worshipping the Supreme Lord. Just recently I took this verse. What is this verse? From Bhagavad Gita. At least I hope you remember what chapters or what verses we are discussing. Which verse is this? When a demigod is worshipped, the process is accepted as an indirect method for worshipping the Supreme Lord. Which verse is this? I recently took this verse. Manoram Prabhu, you are hearing or not? Oh, sorry. Dayāśīl Prabhu. Dayāśīl? नहीं तो आपका भागवतम छूट जाएगा। आप किसी गलतफहमी में मत रहना कि आप अलग से पढ़ लोगे, वो कभी जन्म में नहीं होगा। मुझसे लिखवा लो स्टैम्प पेपर पर। अभी नहीं सुना तो कभी नहीं सुन पाओगे, वो रह ही जाएगा। और एक आध दो बार आपने सोच लिया कि बिना क्लास सुने काम चलेगा तो गए, फिर क्लास नहीं सुन पाओगे, क्योंकि माइंड आपको हर बार ट्रिक कर देगा, आपको ओवर पावर कर देगा। बोलिए कौन सा वर्ष है? इतनी देर में नहीं देख लिया? कौन ढूंढा? नहीं, कौन सा वर्ष है? यार दिस इज वेरी फ्रस्ट्रेटिंग। इतनी बार समझा दिया, इतने अच्छे से समझाया इस वर्ष को, अभी अभी इसी महीने समझाया है। यस प्रदीप?
ये भी अन्य देवता भक्त यजन्ते श्रद्धायन् कृत्वा तेऽपि माम् एव कौन्तेय यजन्ति अविधिपूर्वकम्।
हाँ, यजन्ते अविधिपूर्वकम्। ये अपि अन्य देवता भक्ता, ये अपि अन्य देवता भक्ता, हाँ, यजन्ति अविधिपूर्वकम्, अन्य देवता भक्ता। What kind of worship it is? Indirect worship, or worship in a wrong way. What are the examples Prabhupada gives? What examples? Two examples he gives in this purport. अरे पूरा purport पढ़ के नहीं है, कुछ याद वाद नहीं रहेगा क्या? I explained so clearly. Yes, Ravindra Prabhu.
Putting foods on different parts of the body, not.
Yes, very good. Trying to feed the body from different limbs other than mouth. That is one. That is like Anna Devata Bhaktya. Not putting the food in the mouth, but putting the food in the eyes, on the hand, on the legs, as compared to Anna Devata Bhaktya. Okay, what is the second? अब तो easy है पकड़ना. Yes, Purushottam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, watering different branches and leaves
Yes.
instead of root.
Not watering the root, but watering the different limbs of the tree. Yes, true. The process is accepted. When a demigod is worshipped, the process is accepted as an indirect method of worshipping the Supreme Lord. But when the Supreme Lord is worshipped directly, there is no need of worshipping the demigods or offering them sacrifices as recommended in the particular circumstances. Lord Krishna therefore advised the inhabitants of Brajabhumi not to offer any sacrifice to the heavenly king Indra. But Indra, not knowing Lord Krishna in Brajabhumi, was angry at the inhabitants of Brajabhumi and he tried to avenge the offense. But competent as the Lord was, he saved the inhabitants and animals of Brajabhumi by his personal energy and proved definitely that anyone directly engaged as a devotee of the Supreme Lord need not satisfy any other demigod, however great, even to the level of Brahma or Shiva. Thus this incident definitely proved without a doubt that Lord Krishna is the personality of Godhead, and that he was so in all circumstances, as a child on the lap of his mother, as a 7-year-old boy, or as an old man of 125. In none of these cases was he ever on the level of an ordinary man. And even in his advanced age, he appeared like a 16-year-old boy. These are the particular features of the transcendental body of the Lord. Take at least one more verse. क्रीडान्वने निष्करा गौर्यं रसोन्मुखा कालापादयत मूर्छितेन उद्दीपता स्मररुजं व्रज बृहद्वधूना हर्तुर्हरिष्यति शिरो धनंद अनुगस्यः. When the Lord was engaged in his pastimes of the rasa dance in the forest of Vrindavan, enlivening the sexual desires of the wives of the inhabitants of Vrindavan by sweet and melodious song, a demon of the name Sāci-Sutā, a rich follower of the treasurer of heaven Kuvera, kidnapped the damsels, and the Lord severed his head from his trunk. Prabhupada says we should carefully note that the statements described here are the statements of Brahmaji to Narad. And he was speaking to Narad of events that could happen in the future during the advent of Lord Krishna. So this is what will happen in the future was being revealed by Brahmaji. The pastimes of the Lord are known to the experts who are able to see past, present and future. And Brahmaji being one of them, foretold what would happen in the future. The killing of Sāci-Sutā by the Lord is a more recent incident after the Rasa Leela and not exactly a simultaneous affair. In the previous verse, we have seen also that the Lord's engagement in the affairs of the forest fire was described along with his pastime of punishing the Kaliya snake. And similarly, the pastime of the Rasa dance and the killing of Sāci-Sutā are also described here. The adjustment is that all these incidents would take place in the future after the time when it was being foretold by Brahmaji to Narad. The demon Sāci-Sutā was killed by the Lord during his pastime of Holika in the month of Phagun. And the same incident is still commemorated in India by the burning of an effigy of Sāci-Sutā one day prior to Holika Purnima, the day on which festival generally known as Holi is celebrated. Anyone know? I've only heard of Holika Dahan, but also there is Sāci-Sutā Dahan. Anyone has seen that or participated? It would be in very few places now. Very, very few places. Not common. Generally, the future appearance of the activities of the Lord or his incarnations are foretold in the scriptures. And thus the pseudo-incarnations are unable to cheat persons who are in knowledge of the events as they are described in the authoritative scriptures. Let me take 34 and 35 also. So this section will be complete. Ye cha pralamba kharadardura kesharishtha mallebha kamsa yamana kapi pondaragadya anne cha salva kujabalva dantavakra saptoksha sambhra vidurata rukmi mukhya Yavamride samita salilat chappa salinat chappa kamboj matsya kurushnijaya ekadaya yasyanti adarshanam alambala partha bhima Vyajabayena harina nilayam tadiyam. All demonic personalities like Pralamba, Dhenuka, Baka, Kesi, Arishta, Chanur, Mushtrik, Uvalya Pir, elephant, Kamsa, Kalayavan, Narakasur and Pondarik. Great marshals like Salva, Vividha, Monkey, and Balbaba, Dantavakra, the 7 bulls, Sambara, Viduratha, and Rukmi. And also great warriors like Kamboj, Matsya, Kuru, Srijaya, and Kekaya would all fight rigorously, either with the Lord Hari directly or with him under his names of Baldev, Arjuna, Bhima, etc. And the demons thus being killed would attain either the impersonal Brahma Jyoti or his personal abode in the Vaikuntha planets. All manifestations in both the material and spiritual worlds are demonstrations of different potencies of Lord Krishna. What verse is this? All manifestations. Let me see how much understanding you have. Very beautiful way, Sri Prabhupada is such a extraordinary personality. How he can present every verse in a very, very uncommon way. All manifestations in both the material and spiritual worlds are demonstrations of the different potencies of Lord Krishna. Which verse is this? Very prominent verse. Very, very prominent verse of Bhagavad Gita. But very revolutionary presented in the translation here by Prabhupada. Tell me, which verse is this? Yes, Ravinder Prabhu.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
Yes, Priyanka ji. बोलिए.
अहम सर्वस्व प्रभु मत्त सर्वं प्रवर्तते एतेन त्वा भजन्ते न बोधा अवसन्नम्.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Aham sarvasya prabhu. Simple. That Krishna is the cause of everything which is manifesting in the material and the spiritual world because of his potencies. Demonstrations of the different potencies of Lord Krishna. The personality of Godhead Baldev in his immediate personal expansions and Bhima, Arjuna, etc. are his personal associates. The Lord would appear as he does so whenever he appears, with all his associates and potencies. Therefore, the rebellious souls like the demons and demoniac man mentioned by names like Pralamba would be killed either by the Lord himself or by his associates. All these affairs will be clearly explained in the 10th canto. But we should know well that all the above mentioned living entities killed would attain salvation, either being merged in the Brahma Jyoti of the Lord or being allowed to enter into the abodes of the Lord called Vaikunthas. This has already been explained by Bhishma Dev first canto. All persons who participated in the battlefield of Kurukshetra or otherwise with the Lord or with Baldev, etc., would benefit by attaining spiritual existence according to the situation of their minds at the time of death. Those who recognize the Lord would enter Vaikuntha, and those who estimated the Lord as only a powerful being would attain salvation by merging into the spiritual existence of the impersonal Jyoti of the Lord. But every one of them would get released from material existence. Since such is the benefit of those who play with the Lord inimically. One can imagine what would be the position of those who devotedly serve the Lord in a transcendental relationships with him. So thus this section is ended here of the glories of Lord Krishna in various uncommon activities. So I'll stop here today, and if there is any contribution from your side, any question, please ask, please raise. Nothing? Purushottam Prabhu, I need to speak to you. Okay? I'll speak to you about the yatra, that how we will proceed to Govardhan. I'll call you tomorrow. Tomorrow you call me when you have time. Okay? Okay, thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande.